we are going to be having the next panel. And this is like a hot take, right? Like Web3 is dead and AI agents are the next frontier. So Tiagi, who's co-founder of Capex AI, he's going to explain us why. So please, Tiagi, welcome.
Hi guys. First of all, I think everyone bought into the clickbait. Web3 is dead, enter AI agents. I'll be quickly briefing you guys on what exactly are AI agents. I think a lot of you might already know, but it has been passed around like a buzzword for a long time now. So I'll quickly be catering to that, and then we'll enter into the part where we'll try to explain like what does it mean when we say Web3 is dead. So I'll start with my introduction. I'm Tiagi, I'm the co-founder of Capex. Capex is an Ethereum layer 2 to build, trade, and own AI agents. We are on our 5th month of our testnet. We are planning to go mainnet soon. We have been in the process of building Capex for the last 1.5 years. And it has been a journey, to say the least. These are my socials. If anyone of you wants to reach out after this as well, please feel free. So AI agents is something which I think all of us have heard in passing. We have had conversations. We have seen threads. We have seen OpenAI mention it. We have seen Manus AI, which was one of the best, I think, agents out there when it comes to general purpose, which came out of China. And then we have so many different AI agent companies being funded by millions and millions of dollars, right? But what are AI agents? To put it very, very plainly, an AI agent is nothing but it's an LLM model given the tools to reason, make a decision, and take an action on your behalf. And that is what makes AI agents so powerful. That any sort of an LLM model, when given the power to reason with itself, reach a decision on behalf of you and take an action on behalf of you. That's what makes it an AI agent. So LLM is still, at the end of the day, the brain of the AI agent. And that's the beauty of it, that you have taken that model, you have given that brain now some hands and limbs and the access to the internet, and then you have told him to actually reason with itself. So basically talk to itself in a loop so that it's able to take better decisions. And then finally, you have given it some sort of API tools, some sort of memory, and all of those things in order to make it much, much, much smarter and much more customizable, personalized to each and every person. Now, to put it like, again, like a high level view of what are different parts, moving parts of an AI agent and how they work together. So you have an LLM model, then you add reasoning to it. So essentially the ability for the LLM model to either talk to itself or talk to another LLM model. Then you add an MPC or a bunch of APIs. Now what does that do? It gives you access to all the tools on the internet. It gives you access for the AI agent to access, let's say, Brave browser or DuckDuckGo browser, right? To search something. It gives it access to things like Slack, Google Calendar, Gmail. So your LLM model now has access to all of this data, and it's able to fetch exactly the query that is requested with respect to the prompt. And then you add a memory layer to it. Now what memory does is it gives you hyper-personalization. Any sort of a person who's using an AI model, what we experience right now is like literally the very nascent first steps of how a human would interact with a model. But what we are really getting to is that every one of us would have either a model which is trained on our own data, or the early stages of it would be that we would have our own AI agent, which would somewhat act like Jarvis. So each one of us would have our own Jarvis, and that Jarvis would have all the context with respect to our birthday, our mom's birthday, when do we wake up, what kind of food do we eat, and it's gonna be able to suggest us things like the trips that we can plan, the kind of diet we should follow, the nutrition, the medical conditions, and all of those things, right? And that's where the memory comes in, and memory makes it extremely hyper-personalized. Now, when you put this in a feedback, this is what makes AI agents very, very, very powerful. That when it's reasoning, it goes back to the LLM model and it's able to reason with itself. When you bring in some data from an MPC or an API call, you put that data back into the LLM model and it's able to become much, much more smarter and take actions on your behalf. You have memory and you push that memory back into the LLM model and it's able to process on that memory. So all of these things make it extremely powerful and make it extremely smart. And this is why agents, although might sound like a fad, but it's not. It's actually these agents are becoming more and more capable every day. We have already seen some examples of like GitHub Copilot where you can now access your GitHub repo and it's able to suggest you code. It is able to rewrite your code. It's able to run tests on your behalf. Soon it will be able to deploy your code for you. So all of these things are happening in the AI agent space. Now, the fact of the matter is that we always hear this word that AI is going to eat the world. And this is very much true. We are kind of on the very first steps of a revolution. In the 90s, it was internet and everyone was like, it's a bubble. There were a lot of skeptics at the time as well, but and the same thing can be said with AI as well. If you go around and you talk to people, and when we say that AI is going to take so many jobs, a lot of people are like, no, it won't happen as soon, or it won't happen at this scale. But it is happening. We are already seeing early signs of it. We are already seeing Microsoft and IBM and companies like Amazon replacing 30 to 40% of their workforce with AI processes, and how, in fact, one of their best coders are also using AI tools at this point of time. So AI agents will definitely change the way we interact with the world. Now, what's really going to change is the last mile. You will still have access to all the apps. You will still have access to the internet. But what's really changing is that your interaction with the internet is going to completely be abstracted away. It's not you who will be clicking the buttons on different websites, on different apps, or making accounts or putting your credit card information, but it'll be an AI agent which will be doing it on your behalf. All the human digital experience will be abstracted, and then the best part is this. We are seeing a lot of AI agent swarms as well come in. What are swarms? Swarms are basically a bunch of AI agents now given access. So it's not just one AI agent, but it's like 5 AI agents, 10 AI agents, 20 AI agents. And now what they're doing is they're evolving. They're talking to themselves, they're talking to the internet, and they're evolving, they're self-learning, their memory is constantly getting updated. So now it's not just static user experience, but it's dynamic user experience. So every time you ask it a question, or if it's the same question, it's going to come up with a better and a different result. And that is what makes it, again, more capable and more powerful. Now let's get to the elephant in the room, which is why Web3 is dead. Now Web3 is dead because how we interact with Web3 is with wallets. That's basically how we access any sort of DeFi product, is for us to have a wallet, and that wallet essentially has given us the power to interact on chain. But what's going to really change, and we are already again seeing signs of this with a lot of people working in this space, where we are seeing wallets have become more and more agentic. A very good example would be Coinbase CDP. Another example would be Crossmint smart wallets, which are now accessed by agents to access any sort of DeFi protocol on your behalf. So wallets are going to keep on becoming more and more agentic, and what's going to happen is that your wallet is not just going to be like, it's just going to become a tool for you to hold funds, but these agents will have their own wallets and they'll be able to make transactions on your behalf across all of DeFi, across all of Web3. Now, on-chain will become invisible. So here's the thing, for the last almost 7 to 8 years, since the advent of DeFi, we have been constantly going around in circles, having these conferences again and again on panels saying that how the UX is broken. And if the UX is broken for DeFi, then AI is literally the solution. These agents are supposed to make the UX better. They are supposed to take away the user experience from the users and take it back to where the tool or the platform exists. And that's what's going to happen. Like, the whole user experience is going to get abstracted with agents, and we're going to see the whole on-chain experience become absolutely invisible. Now, DeFi will become AI-powered, intent-based. This is something I think a lot of people might have already heard, which is intents. So intents is nothing. It's basically you telling an interface what you want to do. Let's say, for example, you have 1 ETH and you want 20% yield on it. That's your intent. You go to a platform and you tell that you are expecting 20% yield on it. Now, if that platform has AI enabled, then it will be able to tell you how risky that is. It will be able to give you some sort of a strategy of how it will achieve that yield. And now your DeFi just becomes you entering human commands instead of going to 5 different protocols, staking, restaking, taking that money, doing some sort of a hedge delta neutral position, and then getting to probably like 15, 20, 30, whatever percent yield that you were planning to do. But you are not going to take those 20 different steps on 5 different chains. Your AI agents with their own wallets will be able to do those on your behalf. And that's how AI agents, the advent of AI agents, is going to completely kill your Web3 experience as you know it today. Web3 is not going anywhere, but your Web3 experience is completely going to be changed in the next few months. Now, where do CapEx come in? So here's the thing. Since I have a few more minutes, I'm going to drill down on our 3 offerings: our CapEx chain, our CapEx super app, and our CapEx cloud. Now, it's been a few months, 4 to 5 months since we went into testnet. We have already had 50 million transactions on our testnet. That's our CapEx chain. Now, what's the purpose of CapEx chain? It's an Ethereum layer 2, as I said, for you to be able to tokenize your AI agent. So any sort of an AI business that might be out there with their own AI app, AI agent, they'll be able to very easily come to CapEx chain and be able to tokenize their product. Then we have something called CapEx super app. This I'm going to drill down a little bit in the next slides. But we already have 500,000 users on CapEx super app, and this is still a web app. We are planning to do like a mobile app as well. But again, this is something which is impressive considering that it's only been like last 3 months since we launched the CapEx super app. Then we have something called CapEx Cloud. CapEx Cloud has $250 million of restaked assets in TVL. And that's basically our offering to decentralize the hosting and scaling of these AI agents and apps. So every time you go out there, any sort of an AI product that you might be using, it's hosted somewhere. It could be Azure, could be AWS, could be Akash Network. Now, our whole offering with CapEx Cloud is that we are not trying to change or reinvent the wheel. All we are trying to do is we're trying to bring in a layer, a middleware layer between you and the cloud services. And we are trying to make it more trust minimized, and we are trying to make it more decentralized. Now, I'll also dive into how we are doing that in a minute. I'm just going to quickly go through a few slides because I just saw that I'm running out of time. So CapEx in one sentence is a capital formation layer. What we are trying to do is we are trying to bring in all of these people who have some sort of a vision to build AI agents or AI app, or probably have some sort of a vision to solve a problem in the market. And we are making it extremely easy for them to be able to build their own product. Now, we have some sort of a no-code or low-code tools within our own ecosystem, which are currently in beta access, so you can still get access to it in a permissioned way. Then you have something called CapEx Cloud, which is like a single-click deployment. So it completely takes away the load of DevOps from any sort of a developer out there. And then you have the app which gets listed on CapEx super app with the exposure of 500,000 users. So your user base gets bootstrapped with the help of CapEx app. The idea is that tomorrow, and this is something which Sam Altman keeps saying, that tomorrow you're going to see not 50 people companies becoming $1 billion companies, not 100 people companies becoming $1 billion companies, but a single person $1 billion company. And that's what we are heading towards. We're heading towards an AI builder economy. The last economy was a creator economy where we saw a lot of people on YouTube, on Twitch, making millions of dollars and becoming big brands. And the next economy is the AI builder economy, which is going to bring in a lot of capital, which is going to attract a lot of attention. Now, this is CapEx super app. I'm going to quickly go through a demo of how the app works. So let's dive right into it. To put it in one sentence, CapEx super app is basically your iOS app store plus your Robinhood. So the idea is that how do we bring a discovery platform and enable speculation on the products which you are anyway using in your daily life. So any sort of an AI app, any sort of an AI agent, you will now be able to speculate on it, essentially invest in it, become an early user and an early investor in every app which is out there. So this is a quick demo of how the app looks like. We have a mobile version as well as a desktop version. So you can basically go to any agent, you can buy within a few clicks the tokens of that app. This is basically a parallel experience of how it looks like on desktop versus mobile. We are available on both as web apps. Then there's a store, which is, as I said, like an Apple store, an Apple AI store. And then you have different apps which you can access, you can upvote. We also have since we are in testnet, it's incentivized, so we have an earn section, and then we have an embedded wallet. So you don't need to connect your MetaMask or Phantom or anything. We already have a wallet within the product. So this is like a quick demo of what the app looks like. The link is app.capex.ai if anybody is interested to check it out. Okay. Then we have Capex Chain. Again, as I said, it's an Ethereum L2 to build, trade, and own agents. We have total transactions of 50 million. We have a daily average transactions of 750K and an all-time high daily transaction of 1.2 million. We have something called Capex Cloud. It's secured by 250 million in restaked assets. Now, this is something that we have built using Symbiotic. So if you know EigenLayer, Symbiotic is one of their biggest competitors. Symbiotic recently raised a round of $29 million. We are using Symbiotic. We are one of their flagship AI agent network on Symbiotic. And the idea here is simple, that we have a middle layer of operators, and these operators are now hosting AI apps on your behalf. So you're not directly going to Azure or Akash or let's say your own bare metal server. You're essentially delegating that task to an operator which is going to do that for you. Now, the reason why you're going to pay that operator instead of directly AWS is that now that operator has some assets staked on it, and if the operator does a bad job, the operator gets slashed. So we have a bunch of operators. We have 31 operators currently in our network, and around 17 of them have assets staked on them. As of now, they are currently running at tester nodes, and soon they'll be running performer nodes. We are still in testnet with Capex Cloud. We'll be going mainnet this week with Capex Cloud. So again, something to look forward to, and something which we believe is going to be not just a norm for Web3 products or let's say the apps which get launched on us, but it's going to become the norm for literally any sort of a product which is out there will be able to use Capex Cloud without any friction. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, guys. That's it. And if you guys want to reach out to me, please feel free.